It's rare that a fireside chat takes place next to an actual fire, so this is very exciting. Welcome to the sweaty backyard. Thank you all for coming. It's that critical time in the afternoon where people are like, yeah, I can have a beer now, and I'm glad to see it. So thank you all very much for coming out. I'm here with Erin. We're excited to talk today about expectations of experience, and generally speaking, the fact that those expectations have changed quite a lot. So I guess let's start by sort of giving a bit of an idea around your expectations for what you think we're going to be talking about at South by this year, and indeed anything you absolutely don't want to be talking about. What's on the no thank you list?
Well,
I'm going to tell you guys to keep it close, right? We're going to keep
Closer.
It. Oh, that's what
I gotcha.
I love that.
well, Chat GPT is
Yes.
probably what everybody's going to be talking about,
Yep.
and I have a couple of ideas and perspectives on that.
Excellent.
That's also what I don't want to hear about. No, I'm kidding. It's the most exciting. It is revolutionary, but it's the flash right now that everybody's really excited about. So, I just think experiential is a buzzword. We're all hearing it, but I want to really dig into a little more about what that truly is and what's memorable and what's differentiated. And I think what will be exciting to see at South by is who's actually doing it well, what you really remember. This is like the mecca of experiential, right? And so, you can walk into a place and not remember it, and it just goes in one ear, in your eyes, and out the other. And then there are other experiences that you're like, I want to do that kind of thing. I felt something. I was emotional about that. Those are the things that are going to be memorable. So I think the thing to see at South by is really just who comes out on top.
Yeah, I think you hit on a really interesting point, which is that intersection between the need for an event to be informative, but the actual result being far more memorable. Because quite often from the perspective of an agency, we end up listening to clients that start with a very high ambition for their experience, but then as it breaks into the necessities of an event, it becomes very much like I have to get the information across, I have to get my points across. Tell me a little bit about some of the ways you are managing expectation in that regard at IBM.
Yeah, I have an example of this that just recently I was in charge of designing an experience for the National Retail Federation Conference. And often our activations that we create, there's a lot of desire from, which is good desire from our executives and from our product marketers. We really want everyone to go through this 2-minute experience and understand everything there is to know about AI. Anybody else deal with that? Or whatever the topic is. I mean, can I see a show of hands? Anyone? Thank you. I'm not alone. Okay. And the importance is really to get the key message across so that you can start that conversation, so that you can really develop that deeper relationship. And so this activation is all about Watson Assistant, which is basically our solution for AI. And of course, ChatGPT came out at the time that we were building this, and and so everyone was like, "Oh, why am I going to buy Watson if I can just get ChatGPT?" Because it goes way beyond. And so we were really challenged: how do we create an experience that will help people understand the features of what we do and why it's needed, why it's worth an investment, why it has a return on the investment? And so I thought, well, let's create a game. How do you think that went over? That was like. Game. Okay. Isn't that like Fortnite and kids and I don't know. And the key thing that I always say is every person that we're selling to, even if it's a business to business scenario, is a person. So people run businesses, right? So how do we create a memorable experience that's fun? I actually had a couple people say, please don't use the word fun. Let's call it engaging. We're very serious-minded people, which fit in a certain place, right? But when you're doing an event, you want it to be fun, engaging, entertaining, things you remember. So basically, we designed a game that challenges you to handle customer requests and shows you the effort that goes into that. And each level of the game introduces different features of the solution. It's fun, it's frustrating. That was another thing that people were saying when they first did the game. This is frustrating. I sat there with clients all day long The frustrating part made them remember, because at the end of the game, we're resolving all of that for them. So there's all these different elements of memory, of memorable experiences that are so important. And the whole end of the game is you want them to come away with that interest, inspiration to go deeper. And so, it was. Did I answer your question?
I think so. Yeah, no, that's kind of exactly what I'm getting at. And you touched on something else that I think is really interesting. We were upstairs listening to some of the talks this morning, and we heard everyone's favorite expression, B2B. And as you say, people are consumers, people are human beings, and at the end of the day, people don't put on their B2B pants, strap on their B2B lanyard, and walk out as a business to be consumed and talked to as a business. So. Particularly after the pandemic and the return to the event industry, as it were, something we talked a lot about at Freeman was the importance of infusing optimism and joy into experiences, whether that be at a macro level of the thematic of an experience or even just at a touch point level. How do you see the idea of joy and optimism playing into IBM's experiences and events at maybe an activation level?
Yeah. The key for us is we always want to delight our attendees, because we want to delight customers. We want to empower the businesses that we underpin experiences with to delight their customers. So we want to delight them and give them a vision of what is possible. So for example, we just recently won an Emmy with Fox Sports for the technical highlights and AI that we've applied to help broadcasters create a better experience, to help the highlights be brought together in a faster, more efficient way. And so we want to take people and immerse them into that experience. So if you aren't a person who watches the Cowboys, sorry, I know I'm in Austin, but that maybe you haven't experienced that, right? So we try to elevate and escalate those experiences at our events to really take them into what the end game of the technology is, not just what the technology is. There are places where you can find that out, but what we're doing is we're introducing and creating that activation or that inspiration moment, and then taking them deeper into stations where you can go and dig right into the details. But that's our real focus in every event that we're doing now.
Yeah, and we, in talking last week, we were chatting a little bit about this notion of the expectations people have changed a lot. And I think you actually said it's never been harder to get people to get on a plane and actually come to your event or your experience. I guess tactically and or at a sort of more thematic level, what are you and IBM doing to really increase the value so that people make the effort to come to a live experience? And I guess that comes through both the experiences and also the way you split the content that you're trying to get across. Because as we talked about, so much of the content that you used to put on the stage, you can now give to people in the form of a 5-minute online module that they can do in their own time. So what are some of the tactics you're looking at bringing people to the events?
Well, part of it is really giving, because, to me, the value of me being here is listening to all of you. You all are the key to the success of any event, right? And so I want to take a picture and just see all my new friends. Okay, everybody, give me your best.
Arms up, please. Arms up.
Please. Okay. Yay. Okay. So
kudos to the person that turned around not knowing what was happening.
Woo!
Nicely done.
It's really engaging people in the experience. We're doing much more peer interactions. We're doing, one of the things that we did at our event, our flagship event, Think, last year, is we created a space where we had spotlight stages right next to where the activations were, right next to where the bars and all of the fun, networking activities. And so it really does help you immerse people into the experience, and getting someone to get on a plane to come. That is all about who are you going to meet, what kind of opportunities am I going to have to network with people, and what information am I going to get that I won't get on a webinar or get on a virtual session.
Yeah, I think that is
shared experiences.
Absolutely, and I think if we, again, from my perspective, going back 10 years or so, you would almost help your clients create the agenda, design the stage, fill the space with noise, and then 2 minutes before the event was going to the CEO, you'd be like, shit, we have to think about networking. What are some networking things we can lob in? What we now seem to be what we're advising our clients on is really start with that networking. And as you said, like break up the traditional spaces so that, as you said, like the barrier between a keynote and the barrier between a sponsorship activation and the barrier between the bar are all being broken down because people want that more seamless experience. Do you think that's fair to say?
I think that's fair, and I think some other keys are really having a variety. To me, I always say this, and people are like, that's kind of boring, but it always goes back to understanding your audience. Who is it that you're trying to get there? What is important to them? Who are the people they want to talk to? And so I think having a variety is really important. Sometimes an analog experience has a great place. Sometimes a digital experience has a great place. Shared experiences work great for some people, and other people just want to get in there by themselves and do it. I mean, that's going back to this game that we created. One of the key things that I designed in this was wanting to have an individual player experience and then a full display. And so what we did was basically for that person who's like, I'm not going to play a game, I don't want to play a game, they're very enticed and interested because they're seeing what's happening. They get to be that voyeur, if you will. And yet the people who really want to get in there and get their hands dirty, they have the chance to do it. So, but you still are conveying the same message. So it's those kinds of shared experiences that I think are key. And really just understanding your audience. What do they want to do? Do they want to do a golf swing together and compete? Competition is really good. Healthy competition, right? And then taking them out to, a great tee off the next day together, and then they'll, well, I did better than you yesterday. And, that's what builds those relationships. I would say, too, authenticity in our brand. It used to be you would get up on a stage, here's all the great things we did, look at all these amazing outcomes. We still do that, but it's really helpful and I think endears people to us as a brand when we talk about here's what we incubated and tried and didn't work so well, and that helped us really learn and grow.
On the back of that game, do you think that internally you move the needle towards the ability for your internal stakeholders to go, yes, I can actually be a little bit more fun. I can find a space to mix that, as you said, the learning with the entertainment?
Absolutely. I think that, and what it is it's not that IBM doesn't want to be fun. It's that IBM, we want to make sure that we we're an inventing company for the last 100 years. So that all of that, understanding the source of that is really important, of wanting to do what's right by the brand and by the our place in history. So I don't want to be critical of the fun, people who are concerned about the fun, but yes, I do believe it has moved the needle, and we're looking at this activation, for example, to go around the world. To be used at Think and also to be in our innovation studios. And I think it really has helped inform, the other activations that we're creating. The key thing there, it could have failed. And we had challenges along the way because we did this in 8 weeks. So the first 2 days of NRF where we did this, we had to use an alternative experience that was not as expansive with the display, and then the third day we got that in. So we by no means were perfect with it, but that's what happens when you incubate things. That's what happens when you try new things. You have good risk mitigation like we did, and you still create an experience that the clients were like, this is amazing. We had a client sit down and say, I've been hearing about Watson Assistant for the longest time, and now I get it. Can I sit down with you and actually look at how we could apply it? And this is a long-time customer that we've had. And so it's those moments that are worth the risk-taking. But, it could have not been well received. The thing that really helps us move the needle on that fun and on these kinds of alternative things we haven't tried before is how the customers react to it.
I think it's interesting to hear you talk about fun through the lens of IBM, because I think, especially in recent years in the startup space, there's almost been a rush to fun. Like a lot of brands, it doesn't even matter what you do, the brand fun has to be so palpable, from Google to Slack to a number of places. And I think what you are talking about is that you managed to find a way into fun that is true to IBM, which is, as you said, a 100-year-old, innovative, sophisticated brand. And I think that alone is worth celebrating, because as you said, authenticity is a huge part of what makes these successful or unsuccessful. Stepping outside the world of events and experiences, what are the other creative spaces, industries, consumer brands that you look at and go, there's something they're doing that's interesting and I want to bring that into the world of IBM?
There's so many. That's hard to pick. Well, I mean,
Besides brand innovators.
Aside from
well,
brand
I
innovators,
mean,
thank you.
Yeah, brand innovators is the best. You know, I'll tell you what I look for is an experience where there is the space to have the valuable connections, the space, and I'm talking about time, I'm talking about experiences, to really to be inspired and to forge partnerships. So, you know, I can think of some, but I don't want to promote my competitors.
Smart, very smart. I think I would love to open the floor up to any questions that anyone might have for Erin or for me, but
I'll kick it off with the first question.
Sure.
We got just a couple minutes left, really. I think Freeman does an excellent job helping their clients avoid the death by ballroom feel, right? And I feel like that's
a great way of saying it.
That's
yeah.
what you're saying, right? The fun. And like when you dive even deeper into the fun, do you take that experience outside and go even farther? Is it like, okay, we're gonna go far away from the actual event experience for a full day or anything? Like, have you explored those kind of experiences?
Yeah, absolutely. Creating shared moments, shared experiences, shared activities together, I think is really key. You know, I think the most important thing is the depth of emotion and inspiration that can be created, whether it's fun or whether it's that we are helping solve the world plastics water crisis, you know, with our sustainability solutions and helping really do meaningful things in the world. I think that when people feel that they're part of that, that's a really endearing thing to be part of a brand and to work with a partner that is doing those things and understands how to bring real world solutions. And so, yeah, I think anytime we can put people together and create experiences like that, whether it be like, you know, for example, we last year we took everyone to our MIT lab, and MIT is tackling some of the toughest challenges in the world, and I think we were all kind of surprised that they were all C-level executives and we could not get them to leave. They were so excited to learn about the technology, and they remembered those experiences. And I've come in contact with some of those people, and they talked about, oh man, that was amazing when we were like looking at the solution together, and now we've seen some things come out of it. So, you know, yes, we're doing some of those off-site types of activities, but the most important thing is the authenticity, the depth, the magnitude of what we're exposing people to with each other, and also what we're doing in the world. I think those are the things that really stick with people and they remember.
I think it's going to accelerate too, because if you look at any of the research, particularly in regard to younger generations, they are expecting that their work travel will blur into their personal travel. So if I'm going to Vegas to go to a conference, what is the conference offering me outside of the hall that is another reason for me to tack on a day or come a day early? So when we talk to our clients a lot, it's okay, let's think about what's happening in your space, but let's think about the context around which people are coming. Because if you can get, and I hope, my God, I hope that it's another reason why we start seeing events in cities that aren't just the big ones, so that we can see the expansion of our industry and its sort of cohesion to the tourism industry. I think that's something that's going to be really interesting.
It's experiences curated, again, to your audience. Who is it? You know, we used to, you know, we sometimes have yoga classes before our flagship event. And we found that, you know, this one particular year and this one particular event, no one, because we were basically looking at, you know, the younger generation was interested in that, right? Other people wanted to have a cocktail party and sleep in. You know what I'm saying? And not do a keynote at 8:30 in the morning.
Yeah, I've
so
had that
it's understanding the audience. So absolutely. And the more that we can tailor that and really do our homework on who it is that you're creating these experiences for, the better that you're going to see your results.
You hit on an important point. Don't plan yoga sessions if everyone's getting shit-faced the night before. No one comes.
I mean, I can't end on a better way than saying that, right?
That's pretty much how all of our conversations end.
That's a theme at South by, right?
Thank you so much, Dan. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Erin. Let's give a round of applause.